Right guys, okay, so Blender, yeah? Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do in our Documents folder is make a new folder and call this Blender. Then inside that, we want another new folder and we want to just call this MOV, okay? Right, let's fire up Blender. Okay, we can go ahead when we get this and just click anywhere. Okay, this is our viewport, and we can see that we've got 3 elements already. We've got a camera, we've got a cube, and we've got a light, yeah? And we can see these listed up here, yeah? A camera, a light, and a cube. So these are the 3 basic elements of every scene. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and save this. Save this in Documents, save this in Blender, and I'm going to call this lesson 01.blend. Okay? So lesson 01.blend. Right, okay, so a cube, a camera, and a light. This is our viewport. Down here, we have our kind of timeline. And these numbers, these are frames. Okay, so each one of these is a frame. These will become more important in a minute. Right, let me just close that. There. Save that. Right, let's go ahead. And first of all, we want a floor. Okay, we can rotate round by using our mouse, and I strongly, strongly recommend you get a mouse. Okay, I'm using an Apple Magic Mouse. They're very good. We needed one for Inkscape, we need one for this, and we might need one after this. Okay, so I strongly recommend that you get yourself an Apple Magic Mouse. Yeah, so I'm just rotating up and down. I've got these controls here. So Z takes me to overhead, Y takes me to side on, X takes me to different side on. Yeah? We've got 3 axes here. We've got the red axis, which is our X axis. We've got the green axis, which is our Y axis. And then we've also got our Z axis, which is our vertical axis. Yeah? Yeah, so if I go side on and I grab it and I go Z, we can see that we can move it vertically. Okay, so this is the 3rd dimension. We're comfortable with X and Y, but now we've got Z, and that's our 3rd dimension. Right. Okay, let's go ahead and add a floor. Okay, so add mesh, and our mesh is a plane. I'm going to use G to grab it. And when I do that, it turns with a white outline, a white stroke. Then I'm just going to press S to scale, and I'm going to use my mouse to make it nice and big. Once I've done that, I'm going to click, and that puts it down. Yeah? Now we can see that half the cube is above the floor and half the cube is below the floor. Okay, so we need to fix that. So I'm going to click on the cube, and I'm going to press G to grab that. Then I'm going to press Z because I want to move it on the Z axis, and I'm going to press 1 to move it exactly 1 meter. Here we go, 1 meter up. Yeah. So that is now sat on the mesh that we have just added. Yeah. We've got our camera here. If we want to look through our camera, we can press this camera button. Yeah, and we can see what the camera sees. Right, I'm going to pinch to zoom out a little bit, and then I'm going to use Shift to just move around my scene a little bit more easily. So using Shift and just going left and right on my mouse. Now, let's add some color to this floor. Yeah, at the moment it's a grey. Let's change that. So down here, we've got something called Material Properties. Click on that. Click on New. Now, use nodes, we don't want that. So let's turn that off. And then here, base color, we can select any sort of base color that we want for our floor. Okay, there we go. Let's do the same with our cube. Into materials, turn off, use nodes, our base color. Let's have a base color of something like that. Okay. Now we can look through our camera and we can see the colors. Yeah. Now our camera is a little bit too high. And here's where the fun begins, okay? Because moving stuff in Blender really takes a lot of practice. Yeah? So I'm going side on. So I'm going to press my Y button, so that I get something where I can see the camera more easily. I don't want the top, something like that. So I'm going to grab it, I'm going to move my camera down. Okay, and we can see up here in the top left-hand corner, let me escape that. As I move the camera, you can see in the top left-hand corner, yeah, that the coordinates of the camera are moving as well. Okay, so I'm going to put that down there. Now, if I look through the camera again, of course the view has changed, yeah, because I've moved the camera. So I need to change the rotation of the camera angle. So I can grab it, and I can rotate it. I can press R to rotate it. And this takes some real practice, yeah? So I can look through. Now, I have rotated it, but now it's a little bit slanted. Yeah, I've rotated it, but I've rotated it at an angle. Yeah, and we can see here it's not completely straight. Yeah, so I'm going to rotate it again, and this really just does take a bit of trial and error. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I've moved my camera down, and I've pressed R. I've grabbed it with G, and I've pressed R to move the camera up and down. Yeah. So now, it's my camera view. There we go. Okay, that looks okay. Yeah. We are going to get better at controlling the camera as time goes on. Yeah? Now, we've put a floor down, and as a result, I can't see my axes very easily. So I'm going to go to the overhead view, which was pressing Z. And then I can see, the green is my y-axis, and the red is my x-axis. Okay, so this cube, G to grab, I want to move it along the x-axis. So I'm going to press X and move it backwards. I'm going to zoom in so I can see a little bit more easily, and I'm going to hold down Shift so I can move to the object a little bit more easily. Now, I'm going to right-click here, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. I'm going to insert a location keyframe, and that gives me this orange triangle, this orange diamond down here. Yeah, that's a keyframe. I'm going to do it again, insert keyframe rotation. Okay, and again, we get one triangle here that shows that there are keyframes here. Okay, so we've set some keyframes here in this location. Now I want to move the cube over here and set some more keyframes. So what I need to do, on my timeline, I'm going to go to about 240. And please, yeah, go to 240. Click on your cube, G to grab, X, and X locks it to our x-axis. And then I'm going to drop it approximately there, yeah, after the camera. I'm going to right-click, I'm going to insert keyframe, new location. I'm going to press N for November. This gives me this transform menu. Now here, 360. And close that. Insert keyframe, rotation. Now if we go back, if we click this jump to start button or jump to keyframe, now when I press play, it starts in one position, it moves to a second position, and it rotates on the way. Yeah? And we can look at it through the camera, go through our camera. Okay, so it comes into shot, it's rotating, and it goes out of shot. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, that's good, and that's as much as we are going to do this lesson. There's one other thing that we are going to look at, which is lighting. We've got our camera, we've moved our camera, we've got our cube, we've colored it and we've moved it. We also have a light, yeah? And we're going to have a look at this a little bit in this lesson. We can click up here, this viewport shading rendering, and that shows us the light that we get from the light. There are 3 different types of light: point, sun, spot, and area. Yeah? And they do what they say on the tin. Point is a single point which radiates out equally in different directions. Sun gives us a big strong sun. Spot gives us a spotlight which we can move and drag around. And area, we can change whether it's a rectangle or a square or a circle or whatever. Yeah? So I'm going to go for spotlight, and I'm going to play the video again and look at it through my camera and see now we can see the spotlight is working. One more time. And that's quite nice. We can see the shadow, we can see the rotation. That's good. I want to make the spotlight a little bit stronger. Maybe 5,000. Yeah? And maybe I want to change the color of the spotlight. So we can do that as well. Now let's have a look again through the camera. Okay, nice. That's nice. I'm happy with that. Yeah? For lesson 1, that's fine. Okay, now, where do we go from here? So we've got our document. We can save it. Yes, lesson1.blend, fine. But we need to render it. We need to output it. So how do we do that? We do that up here. Where is it? Down here. Output properties. Now, each of these is a frame. Yeah, so we've got 250 frames. Our frame rate is 24 FPS. If you're into your games, you will know that FPS stands for frames per second. Okay, so we've got just over 10 seconds of video here. 24 times 10, 240. We've got 250 frames. Yeah? So this video is just over 10 seconds. When we play it, it might not seem like 10 seconds, but when we render it, it will. Now, there are some important settings here that we need to be careful with. We want to output it to our Blender document, to our Blender folder. Okay, so to Blender, to our MOV folder. That's our output folder. File format, FFmpeg video, and the encoding that we want is not Matryoshka. The encoding we want is QuickTime. Everything else you can leave alone. Yeah? Don't change this. Leave that at 24 FPS. When you've done that, you go render, render animation. Make sure your computer is plugged in because this will use a lot of battery. And this will go through frame by frame, and it will take a couple of minutes. Okay? Okay, so mine has finished. It took just a minute. Okay, so that's done. I can close that now. I can open my Blender folder, and in here in MOV I've now got a file that looks like this. I can go ahead, lesson 1, and I can rename this lesson 1. Yeah? And if I play that, I'm going to open it with VLC, which everyone should have. Nothing, and then it comes in, and it goes out. Okay, fine. Yeah? And then there's a bit of nothing. Okay, that looks good. Yeah? So, now we can close Blender. We're not finished, but we can close Blender. Yeah? And if you see that you have a blend 1 file, you can just go ahead and get rid of that. Yeah? Now, we are going to make a portfolio, the same as we did in spreadsheets, the same as we did in Inkscape, yes? Except this time, we're going to use iMovie for it. Yeah? It's not going to be a PDF portfolio. It can't be, because these are not PDFs, these are movies. Yeah? So we're going to make an iMovie portfolio, and it's going to go onto YouTube. When you open iMovie, it might look like this if you've used it before. You can go back here to projects. It might look like this if you've never used it. Yeah. Create new, and we're going to create a new movie. Okay. Now, this lesson1.mov, we're going to drag that in. Yeah. And that's going to sit there. These are our assets. This is where our media goes. I want a title. Yeah? And you can have any title that you want, but the title needs to have 2 parts to it. It needs to say your name and your class, whatever, 9F, and it needs to say Blender portfolio of work. Yeah? So any of these, a lot of these, they only have one thing. Yeah, title text, which is not enough. We want 2 things. We want your name and what it is. So you can use any of these. Yes, like that one's okay. Okay, so I've got this. If you've not used iMovie before, it's not very difficult. Good. When I've got that, I can go back to my media. I can drag that on. Go back here. And then it moves into the animation. I can pinch this so that my timeline becomes smaller, and there we go. Now, I didn't like the abruptness of this. I would like a transition in here. So I can head to transition. Any transition you want, spin in, spin out. Just drop that there. Okay, looks a bit smoother. Yeah, that transition is a bit smoother. Now, actually, before this, I want another title. So I've got my lead title. If you want, David Ayliffe, portfolio of work in Blender. I want some more text. Let's have something like this. Now, I don't want it on top. I want it. Let me delete that. Let me delete that. Let me add that title. Let me re-add my media. And this text here. First I made this. Okay, I'll have another transition here. Okay, so that's my opening title. First I made this, and then here we go. Yeah. And what we're going to do after every lesson, we are going to make this movie longer. First I made this, then I made this, after that I made this, after that I did this, and so on and so on. Yeah? So this is going to be one big movie that we are going to compile as we go through. But now I want to export this I want to change the resolution. I want a nice big resolution. I'm going to put this in my Blender MOV. My movie with lesson 1. Okay, and when you've pressed OK, that will take some time. You don't know that it's actually doing a lot, but that will actually take some time to make the movie. Yeah? When it's finished, you'll get that notification saying share was successful, and you will see that you've got a second MOV. Here we go. First I made this. Okay, and this is checkpoint 1. Okay, we are now on checkpoint 1. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and actually upload that to YouTube. Yeah? So you head over to YouTube, and then you go up here, you go upload video. My movie with lesson 1, you can drag that into here. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to upload it. It will take a minute or two to upload, and then you can click through. There's a few settings, but they're fairly self-explanatory. Once you've done that, I want you to send me a link to this checkpoint 1 on YouTube, on Alma. Okay? Okay, that concludes lesson 1. There's a lot to take in there, but once we've done lesson 1, we are much better placed to press on and learn in lesson 2. Okay, have fun with that, and I'll see you in lesson 2.